Alright, welcome back. Look, we've all seen the new Inquisitor Coteaz model at this point, and the reception has been mixed, but there has been a positive outcome to seeing the new chunky Michelin Man interpretation of the classic character. That's to remind me of how much I like that old model. The original Inquisitor Coteaz model looks fantastic. And it did make me think, what other classics are still around that I absolutely love, that if they did reimagine, I would want them to just stay pretty much exactly, not exactly as they are, but just to be brought back in that nice, new, crisp format, as opposed to having the full redesign treatment, which is what we got. Before we get into that though, this video is brought to you by Serious Lights, and this is my Serious Light. Do you want to look at me whilst I'm talking to you? It's the high definition table light in all black, except for the bits that aren't black anymore, because, I mean, it's been on my painting desk from the moment it arrived, like December 2022 I think it was, so it stayed there consistently throughout all of my painting from that point on. It has received quite a lot of negative attention in the form of paint spatters, airbrush, overspray, all sorts, but it has kept trucking all the way through. I should really just clean it off properly though, shouldn't I? The high definition table light uses Serious Light's daylight wavelength technology, which replicates natural light as closely as possible, which is great because it means I don't get eye strain anymore whilst painting. It also has a flexible neck, a dimmer wheel, you can adjust the beam angle, and it has a swivel joint at the head, so you'll have the perfect light for whatever miniature you're painting. Check out Serious Lights using the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below, and don't forget to use my offer code KIRIOTH24 for £100 off a high definition light and free UK delivery. Thank you very much to Serious Lights for sponsoring the video. Let's get back to it. Now, since we're in the Inquisitor sort of mood this week with Agents of the Imperium and the aforementioned chunky boy, the lad of girth, the man of soft rounded edges, this Inquisitor with Inferno Pistol I think is one of my favourite Warhammer 40k miniatures when it comes to just anything and everything, really. There is style here. There is a very, very sort of thick, chunky sword that looks more like you'd be beating someone to death with a piece of, like, large metal as opposed to stabbing or cutting them. But you know what? You know what? That kind of lack of detail aside, this is fantastic. This is a great, great model. It's also 2-part resin, relatively cheap for what it is, and I can't remember what edition it was brought in, but it's been around for a little while, and this just feels like one of those classic sculpts that I think you could probably improve on it. But then again, do you need to? Do you actually need to? This is like peak Inquisitor for me. You've got the big coat. You've got the overabundance of leather. You've got the strange, almost archaic weapons. Most importantly, though, you've got the big hat. You've got to have a big hat. If you're an Inquisitor, you've got to have a big hat. Or you can be bald. You've got 2 choices. Those are your only 2 choices. I mean, clearly not bald under the hat, unless the hair on this model is attached to the hat. Like when you get a really cool helmet in like Dark Souls or Elden Ring or something, and then you go to put it on and realise that for whatever bizarre reason, the boss's hair was attached to the helmet all along. Don't understand it. I'm assuming that's not what's happening here. It's just the right mix of, like, I don't know, fantasy and sci-fi? Because a lot of it you could just take straight into a fantasy setting. Even the gun wouldn't look that out of place in a fantasy setting, but that's part of the charm of them. The cables, the little bionic eye, it all adds up to create this kind of anachronistic, very interesting looking character. It rocks, it rules, and I kind of hope that if they do a proper reimagining of this specific model, because there have been other Inquisitor models over the years, which, by the way, none of them are currently available under the Agents of the Imperium tab, which is super interesting. I'm assuming they're being repackaged and put into large boxes for now. But if they ever did this specific guy again, I don't know they'd need to change much, because it's still quality. Sticking with the Imperium theme, this is Lamarty's, and I think I pronounced his name right. I'm almost entirely sure that I'm not, actually. I say that, why even bother? Why even bother to say I think I'm saying that right? We all know that it's most likely wrong, because it's always wrong. But this is that guy. This is a great model, and I will be wholeheartedly upset if they deviate heavily from this, if they ever, like, update him or make him Primaris or anything. This is proper, like, 40k. This is proper grimdark. The skull helm is super well done. It looks fantastic. the kind of parchment and stuff wrapped around the legs, the purity seals being as twisted and tattered as they are. The pose is maybe not the best, but it still works. There's almost something of the... I don't know whether, like, this was something they initially really thought of, but there's something kind of, like, not Renaissance painting, but, like, the painting of the saints kind of thing. So when you see a portrait of a saint, quite often there is this leaned back pose, especially if they've martyred. I think sort of specifically more I'm thinking portraits of people who have been martyred and stuff. Look, I had a religious upbringing. There was a lot of time spent in churches and cathedrals. You see a lot of that stuff in places like that, funnily enough. They really love, tell you what they love, they absolutely love paintings of Jesus on the cross. You get a lot of those. Get a lot of them. I'm sure you've seen them around. I'll be surprised if you haven't. But for some reason, the sort of not laid back, but tilted back pose, one leg slightly in front of the other, even down to the one arm being back, it has that sort of feel to me. Now, it might be that that wasn't intentional at all, and that's just a personal observation from so many years of not wanting to be in certain places, but it's one of the things that contributes to making me absolutely love this model. It's one of those things that's like, it's such a specific subjective thing that, you know, whether targeted or not, it's always stuck with me, and I just really think that they nailed this one. This one is like, they nailed it properly. They don't need to do really anything else with this. Just making it a bit bigger, I guess. That's all you need. The rest of it is really good. Really good. We're going to step away from the Imperium. We're going to go over to Chaos, because this, not as old as the two that we've already looked at, but this is the Chaos Lord in Terminator armor, or Terminator Lord, whatever. Why it's Captain in Terminator armor for the Space Marines, but it's Terminator Lord for Chaos, I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter. This is a great kit. I know. You don't have to say it to me. I know that one day this is going to go away. It's going to go away, and I'm going to be sad when it does. Also, look at the tactical rock on that, lad. Look at the tactical rock on that. Oh! It's alright though, because it's vaguely chaosy, because it's pointy. But this is grand. So it's not so much just the fact that it's a cool looking Terminator, right? Because it is. It's not just the fact that Chaos inherently looks cooler than Imperium, because Chaos are inherently cooler. I think we can all agree. I think that's something we can all agree on. There's definitely going to be arguments. No one's going to say that that is equally as subjective as anything else, and I'm really pushing my luck by saying that more than once. I think we can just agree. But this has so many options. This is one of those things where, yeah, it looks good, but also, you don't just build this, lad. Oh, no. No. This is a fantastic kit because you get all of the stuff, all of the weapons, all of the gear. You can build him as a sorcerer in Terminator armor if you want, complete with staff. The staff isn't even properly in this picture, because instead it's showing you the other things that you can use, like the chain fist. I mean, just that by itself, yeah, we got the axe twice, but there's a lot to choose from on this model. Like, it's really good. It's really good. And you end up with a bunch of spares. Even with the spikes on the back of the armour, you will note that they are different on the Sorcerer build than they are on the Lord build. Because you get two different sets of spikes, even down to that. They didn't need to do that, but they did it anyway. And that's a level of, like, modularity and customization that severely lacking in a lot of kits for quite a while now. This is like the example of it for me. Plus, you get to do the proper, like, Chaos Terminator helm with the horns if you want to. That's an important note. I'm trying to remember, is there actually a fourth helmet with this? I can't remember off the top of my head. It's grand anyway. It's great. Absolutely love this kit. It's fantastic. One day they're going to update it. It's probably not going to be as comprehensive, and that'll be a sad day. But for now, brilliant. 10 out of 10. Let's talk about some burner boys. Look how good these are. Like, they've got all the personality. They've got the best orc heads for me. Like, they just do. I especially love the one with like the goggles and the mask, like the bandana over the face, that looks like he's got some sort of respirator just wedged in it, but it's not proper. He's just wedged it in there with a bit of cloth. So good. And the proper, like, gas mask in the back, the big respirator, it just looks so good. They still look threatening. They still look like they have a cohesive feel as a unit. Like, the guns do vaguely look like they all do the same thing, which is, burn people to death. But all of them are just a little bit different. No two are the same. You've got varying levels of, like, being held together by tape and cloth. You've got a different setup on each one in terms of the main body. Even when it comes to where the fuel is coming from, there's, like, different mixes of how that happens. It's so good. It is such a good kit. I absolutely love it. It's very much in the style of the older Orc kits, right? So the arse does stick out. It sticks out a lot. And to be fair, these are a lot more recent than the ones that you could get in metal, which I still have quite a few of. And those are good. Those are good. Would they have made this, like, little kind of nostalgic list? I don't know. But these are fantastic. These are fantastic. And they are getting on a little bit now. They haven't been brought up to the same sort of level / standard / reimagining as, like, the, I only call them the Beastie Boys. What are they called? Is it the Beast Snaggers? The new ones for the Orcs. But they're grand. They're grand, and they can stay. They can update everything else in the Orc range to be a bit bigger and a bit less with their arse sticking out. But they could leave these, and I'd be 100% happy with it, because this is a 10 out of 10 kit. It's really, really good. Final one, probably a little bit surprising, and I'm sure there'll be those of you who play Eldar who are going to say, don't say leave these alone, because for God's sake, we've still got quite a few, like, very old resin kits lying around. This is one of them. This is one of them, the Swooping Hawks. This is one of those very old boxes. I don't know that they're resin. I think they might be. Let's check that, actually. Let's check that. Because I feel like saying it out loud, surely they have to be. They have to be. They have to be resin, right? They've got to be. They are ancient. Absolutely ancient. And also, hilariously, I'm trying to search for them on the Warhammer site. And they're just not coming up. I wonder if that's because Games Workshop don't want you buying them. Here we go. It's because they are out of stock. Of course, if something's out of stock, that means that you don't want to buy them ever or be notified that they're coming back into stock. So they won't show up in the search. Anyway, yes, resin. Of course they're resin. I just for a second I was like, what if they are plastic and I've been wrong all this time? No. 20 separate components. Oh, God, no. 25mm bases, obviously. They kind of hold up. Like, I'm sorry, but they do. They do. Even the poses are pretty good. I would argue that these poses have stood the test of time in a way that a lot of the dynamic poses they tried back in the day simply didn't. Now, you look at the old Khorne Berserkers, and they looked janky AF. They were so, like, stiff and wooden and static, and it was kind of bad because they were supposed to look like they were running and, getting into battle, and they were supposed to look dynamic and as though they were moving, and they just didn't. These, they look lithe, purposeful. They look like they are, in fact, moving. It's grand. We do have repeated poses. Yeah, there is a bit of repeated legwork going on, I know. But overall, I think these have held up really, really well. Like, really well. These and the Warp Spiders have held up really, really well. I'm not a big fan of the helmets. But then again, I'm not a big fan of the helmets because they look kind of like pinched bird faces. I almost want them to lean more into the bird face aesthetic. I want the beaks to be longer. I want there to be more of a feather motif on the heads as well as on the wings, if anything. But the rest of them, I think they actually look really good. And again, if these were ever to be updated, which they should be, maybe, one day, hopefully, it'd be nice, wouldn't it? They really don't need to do much. The styling is great. It's just the detail. It's just the crispness. They just need to bring that up, and it would be fantastic. Anyway, a bit of a self-indulgent one today. I just fancied looking at some older stuff, because the Coteaz, like, remodel, remake, update really made me appreciate the old models so much more, and it dawned on me that there's a lot of like looking forward and looking at the new stuff and looking at all the things that Games Workshop does now, but I think it's kind of easy to lose sight of the things that you like but might not be around for very much longer that they used to do. So there you go. Just made me think of these. I don't know why, but just did. Thank you very much to Serious Lights for sponsoring this video. Again, you can find the link to their website in the description and in the pinned comment down below. Don't forget to use the offer code. If you're going to buy something, it's £100 off. You should absolutely use the code, right? Thank you very much to you for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.